They say attention is the most valuable currency, and I agree. Short form content has shattered attention spans, so your content now has to be fast, engaging, and entertaining. Attention is the new oil, and you need not to just grab it, but keep it as well. I did this by focusing on what won't change in the marketing game. These are human psychology and understanding how people act online. These are the areas where you'll get the most returns. No matter what channel or medium you present your copy, it has to be new, unique, exciting, easy, and clear. It must be something that people have not really seen or heard before. Instead, what most people and companies do is write the same old boring things that everyone has seen 1,000 times before. So here is what I'll do instead. I like to split this into 3 areas. Number 1 is write like you talk. When it comes to tone of voice, you know what I found works consistently? Authenticity. That word again. Now, you're probably rolling your eyes right now. Every marketing fool and their dog harps on about creating authentic content. What they don't tend to be good at is actually explaining what authentic means. You've probably tried to create authentic content, and like what happened to me, it probably bombed. You tried and nobody gave a damn. So you stopped trying, and honestly, I get it. It's disheartening, right? It takes a lot of effort, and when it achieves very little, it feels like a massive waste of time, which I won't lie to you, it is. So getting your tone of voice right isn't easy. If it were, we'll all be amazing writers and we'll be swimming in a sea of incredible content, right? But that content wouldn't be incredible anymore. You're probably gonna hate what I'm gonna say, but yes, it does take time. Now, when I talk about content and tone of voice, I'm talking about marketing with your brand in mind. A tone of voice that helps you sell more products or services or whatever. That's typically how you're gonna engage with your audience. You want to appeal and speak to them just like they were an individual. So how do you do that? Firstly, be human. Talk like a person, share something and make it personal with stories. Inject some personality and, most importantly, make it valuable and entertaining. Secondly, keep it simple. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, using big words and unnecessary language will just alienate people and will do nothing for you other than ensure you come across as a bit of a know-it-all. Thirdly, never underestimate the power of humor. In any market, and I mean any market, humor is a potent tool. It connects with people, making your message memorable and relatable. No matter the industry, humor humanizes you and your brand, creating a deeper connection with your audience. Don't overlook its impact. It's universal and effective. You see, I lean on this a lot, really, and it really has worked for me. I do have that kind of joker personality, and I use a lot of memes. In fact, I have a Figma file full of them. So your tone of voice is what you'll become known for. People might not necessarily remember everything that you write, but they will remember the way you write and how it makes them feel. And what I've found is in some industries, particularly like the corporate ones, where nobody produces any standout content, making an impact can be as simple as changing your tone of voice. This now leads to number 2, starting with a freaking good hook. I can't emphasize how important this is. Every single piece of online content needs a hook, period. Let me repeat that for those at the back with an F-bomb for added impact. Every single piece of online content needs a flipping hook.
He's out of line, but he's right.
So, what's a hook? It's the first line or title of the content that is written in such a way that draws readers in, right? Call it a clickbait, call it a hook, call it whatever you like. I think clickbait and hooks are different. Not in the way they are written, but the content that they lead to. If you write a hook and it doesn't lead to something of value to your audience, then that's clickbait. If it leads to something valuable, in my eyes, that's a hook. And don't just assume value is just new information or insights or whatever, as most people do. Value comes in many forms, making them laugh, making them cry, giving them stories that they can relate to and not feel alone in their thoughts. They're all things that are valuable to your audience. You see, content marketing is supposed to drive sales. And when do people buy? They buy when they feel good, or they buy to avoid a pain, which in turn makes them feel good. They buy when they feel connected or part of something. They buy when other people buy, because when a product or service or brand is trusted by loads of their peers, they're most likely to trust it too. You shouldn't have to sell. If it makes a connection with your audience, they'll buy when they are ready. And you've done all the hard part by getting them to buy into you. And a hook is a massive part of that. If you don't draw in your readers, it doesn't matter how much value your content contains, it will be a waste of time because no one will bother reading it. And if nobody reads it, nobody buys. You have a very small window to capture someone's attention where we're talking here milliseconds. And if your title or first couple of lines aren't engaging enough, they're probably scrolled past. So don't underestimate how difficult it is to write a good hook. So here are a few things you can try to help you come up with a killer first line or title. Write the piece first, then take the most polarizing element of the content and fashion that into a short, impactful hook. If the topic of your content is controversial, funny, topical, or downright weird, just keep it simple and say it how it is. And lastly, use a twist. So in the first line or title, say the complete opposite. Say that you don't agree with it, then flip it around in the piece itself. So what you want to do is test content and keep track of what works, because you'll come up with your own ways of writing hooks. And the more you write them, the more you analyze what drove the most traffic, and the more you'll become familiar with what works. If you can't hook your audience in, your content that you worked so hard on to create will just get lost in the sea of complete and utter dry, boring rubbish. And we don't want that, do we? As annoying as this is going to sound, think outside the box. And what I mean is ask yourself, what are my competitors doing to market themselves? And don't do that. I don't care how well it works for them. If you do the same thing, one of two things will happen. Either you'll produce marketing that looks like a poor man's version of the stuff your competitor is doing, or you'll bring in more of the same stuff to the market, which will balk your customers and ruin the party for everyone. So we talked about number one, which is your tone of voice, and number two, which is a hook. Number three is storytelling. So one of the best skills you can learn is storytelling. Storytelling plus defensible arguments equals great messaging and positioning. For thousands of years, we've communicated through stories. Something that has a beginning and an end. Something that describes what someone is going through. My favorite framework is the hero's journey, which is broken down into the call to adventure. So, dissatisfied with the status quo, the hero to be takes control of their life and their direction to discover their true potential. Usually this involves leaving home like a Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, abandoning his home planet of Tatooine. Next is struggle, revelation, and transformation. In doing battles within and without, the hero to be becomes transformed with newly gained knowledge and experience. An example here is Bruce Wayne's harrowing journey when he was far away from Gotham. And then it's the return. So the new hero returns home, demonstrating their heroism to family and friends who have never heard the call. So an example is both Bilbao and Frodo Baggins, so they both fit the bill. So this plays out in marketing by describing 1. The pains and problems your customers experience. 2. You then paint a picture of a better world and let them dream about what a life would be like without those pains and problems. And 3, finally, showing how your product or service helps them fix their problems with unique features and capabilities that enables them to turn their dream into reality. You see, the problem with most marketing copy and sales pitches isn't that it doesn't explain the product, it's that it doesn't explain who it's for and why they should care about it. So here are 6 of my favorite storytelling tips. 1 is begin in the action. Too many people start their stories by setting the scene, but you must be able to grab it immediately. So dive into the action and the good stuff, then swing back once you have them hooked. Tip number 2 is paint a picture of the scene. A good story teleports the reader or listener to the scene. People don't care about stories they can't see. So use things like times, dates, senses, colors, and emotions. Tip number 3 is use the but and therefore rule. Boring storytelling focus on the basic series of events like this happens and then this happened and then this happened. Swap and then with but or therefore and see how much it makes the story more exciting. Tip number 4 is control the tempo. So it's not just what you say, but how you say it. During peak intense parts, use short, bold sentences. This will keep people engaged and pause in important moments. Tip number 5 is have an enemy. A story without a villain is not a story at all. An enemy brings your audience to your side. It triggers that us versus them and increases the stakes, making people more invested in the outcome. And lastly, tip number 6 is leave a lesson. We listen to stories to learn, so no story should be made without a point. Sometimes it helps to work backwards from the big idea. Other times, you'll discover the big idea as you write it. So those are the 3 areas that really helped me create good copy: tone of voice, hook, and storytelling. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, here's another that you'll find insightful.